Good afternoon. I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Thursday, May 21, with news from Arkansas. Asa Hutchinson had his news conference this morning to talk about his call for the special legislative session next week. He revealed that he will ask for an $87 million state bond issue to enable Lockheed Martin to expand its facilities in Camden if it wins a bid to make a new light armored vehicle for the military. The bond issue will be at a lower cost of financing for the company. That should make its bid more competitive. We're going to have Arkansas, one of the state's poorest states, subsidizing the federal government, which is a certain degree of irony. And we're going to loan $87 million from a state that has about a $5 billion a year state revenue budget to a company that has $45 billion a year in revenue. Seems kind of a funny turn of events, but it's supposed to create 600 new jobs in Arkansas over the next 25 years, and so that would be a boon of a sort. There's going to be a report tomorrow that's going to lay out the cost and benefits of this project. The governor also defended his decision to move all of the state primaries elections in 2016 to March. It's to make Arkansas a player in presidential politics. He says we will join a number of other southern states in having Republican primaries that day, and that way, in theory, we will get the attention of the candidates and have a strong say in who's elected president, or at least who gets the Republican nomination, because that's really what Hutchinson, a Republican, is pointing toward. This certainly will help Mike Huckabee, or Huckabee thinks it will, because he's viewed as being a strong Southern candidate. Hutchinson insists he didn't talk to Huckabee about this. This is simply about the broader issue, not the narrow one. He was not asked about the inconvenience this is going to cause in the regular primary schedule. It'll mean an earlier filing deadline. It will protect incumbents by releasing them from conflicts with the legislative session and rules that forbid them from raising money during that time, because they're going to delay next year's legislative session. He also talked about some savings from some governmental reorganization for small agencies such as Rural Services and the Building Authority are going to be rolled into bigger agencies. About $1 million a year will be saved, mostly in removing currently unfilled jobs from existing budgets. Perhaps that amount will increase in coming years with attrition and other jobs. If this reduces some of the traditional politics in a couple of these agencies, Rural Services and the Building Authority particularly, that would be a good thing. But of course, stronger administrative control over those agencies also presents the prospect of even greater political influence from a single source. So we'll just have to watch that as it develops. The governor also was asked about his somewhat surprising appointment of former legislator Denny Altis of Fort Smith to head the state's drug office. Altis did not have a sterling record as a legislator. He's made a number of fairly outrageous comments, including some racially incendiary comments about blacks and Hispanics in an email he sent to a Fort Smith official. Hutchinson's only response to a question about his emails was that Denny Altis was a legislator and was sure that experience would make him good for the job. Not exactly a ringing endorsement. Speaking of Mike Huckabee, he has announced this morning that he will not participate in the Iowa straw poll. This was primarily a fundraising event for the Iowa Republican Party, but it has been used to propel some candidates to prominence. Mike Huckabee, notably in 2008. Huckabee now says it favors candidates with a lot of money. This is somewhat of a signal that Huckabee will not have much money. Jeb Bush had already said he wouldn't participate. This could mean the end of the straw poll as a meaningful influence in Iowa. That's a good thing. I think Huckabee's right about avoiding this, although he's used it to his own devices before. The Iowa caucuses still are heavily weighted in favor of extreme right-wing Republican candidates. The winner in Iowa doesn't necessarily win the nomination, but gets a lot of early attention, which can be valuable, and that's what Mike Huckabee's looking for now. I talked this morning with officials of the Pulaski County League of Women Voters. They have serious concerns about a proposal that's going to be heard soon by County Judge Barry Hyde to incorporate the Little Italy community in northwest Pulaski County, a tiny community of perhaps 300 to 400 people that wants to incorporate, they say, to protect their identity and also perhaps increase their services. The municipal league's made it pretty clear that there's not enough money available for Little Italy to have anything like a meaningful city government organization. Most people believe this incorporation effort came to remove the city's acreage from under the new county land use ordinance that's meant to protect the Lake Maumelle watershed. There was great opposition to that ordinance in the Little Italy area. The League of Women Voters was an advocate for the land use controls in the watershed, thinks it's vital to protecting the city water supply. They're afraid taking this land out of the plan will perhaps ruin the entire shape of the plan, which was gauged at holding down the potential for runoff into the lake. but whether the county judge will rise and consider these things in his hearing is yet to be determined. Some catch-up news that I meant to mention yesterday, gone but not forgotten, you could say, about Bill Walker, who headed the state career education department, had a checkered record there, a number of controversies. I reported yesterday that there was a second case of a judgment that had to be paid by the agency because of the firing of a whistleblower. This was a cosmetology department employee in the State Rehabilitation Services Division. She said she was more or less promised a job by Bill Walker and Bob Trevino at that agency. They frequently came down there to get free pedicures, by the way, in her department. But then didn't get the job after she reported a suspicion of thefts of materials underway in her department. She was discouraged from making those reports. She's now gotten a $33,000 settlement as a result. This comes on top this week of news of other Bill Walker problems. It's been revealed by KTV in an in-depth report that some grants in his department were guided to his sister and two other women identified as cousins to help them set up businesses in a multi-level marketing scheme in which it turns out Bill Walker himself is also an investor and worked on during his time as director of a state agency. Legislative audit and the state police may yet take a further look at this and whether there was self-dealing by Bill Walker as a state agency director. He left an uncommonly bad track record behind. Why Mike Beebe kept him as long as he did is a mystery only the governor can answer. Some good news, home sales in Arkansas were up sharply in March. Economists think perhaps that's a sign of an improving economy here. And finally, a sad piece of news. Sue, the 45-year-old white rhino at the Little Rock Zoo, died. She'd long outlived the standard life expectancy for rhinos, but it was a sad day for friends of the big animal. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.